Hey guys, so I have decided that I am going to make Padme's packing gown from episode 2, and I want to try and make this in time for C2E2 in December. It is currently the end of August, so we're going to see how well this works out and how fast I can get it done. So I went to Joann's today and I got all the fabric that I wanted. So I am going to start with the skirt first because that seems like the easiest thing to do. Alright, so here is the fabric I am using for the skirt. It is a suiting fabric. I think I got about 6.5, 7 yards, and I have actually already cut out my pieces. So I cut out 2 half circles, and then I was able to get another quarter cut out. So the skirt is going to be 1 1/4 circles. And then I just cut out my pockets because I am going to put pockets in this. So I had thought about leaving it as the quarter and just sewing it in so I'd only have the 3 seams and putting it in either the front or the back. But if I put it in the back, I would have a center front seam, and if I put it in the front, I wouldn't really be able to put pockets in because the pockets would be like in the very front of the skirt because of all the pleating and everything. So I am going to cut it in half and then put it in the side seam so I don't have a center front seam, and then I can still put pockets in and also not have a pocket on the same seam as the zipper. So I'm going to go ahead and start sewing this and then start pleating it, and I'll show you guys after that. Alright, so I have done quite a bit of work. I didn't record it because I got really frustrated at my sewing machine and then I completely forgot. So the skirt is almost done. I have put in the zipper, put on the waistband, put on some hook and eyes. The only thing that is left to do is to hem this, and then it will be done. I do have a line of stitching right here that I'm not sure if I'm going to take out. It will depend on if it's visible with the shirt on or not, but for right now I'm just going to leave it. I am really happy with how this came out. It does have pockets in it. Let me see if I can find one. So it does have very large pockets in it, which I am extremely happy about, and they are hidden in the pleats, so that's nice. The only real issue I have with this is I think the waistband is a little too wide. It's probably a good 3 inches or so, so I may go back in and make the waistband a little bit smaller, but for right now I'm just going to leave it. I'm not too worried about it. And then I have started working on the undershirt because for this outfit, her puff sleeves are separate from the black vest she wears. They're actually attached to an undershirt, so that is what I am working on right now. So I just took a basic vest pattern that I already had made, and I am modifying it a little bit to fit the undershirt. And right now I have this all pinned together so I could try it on. I did some chalk marking, I trimmed up some of these hems so that it fit better. So now what I'm going to do is take this apart and cut out a second layer so that I can make it a lining and then eventually put boning in it. Alright, so here's where I am with the vest for the undershirt. I am very happy with how it is fitting and how it is looking right now. This is just one layer, and I do still have to go in and trim up some of these edges and everything, but that'll happen once I put the second layer in and hem it. But it is very comfortable and it is very snug, which is exactly what I wanted. And then it does just close with a zipper in the front here. I do need to trim up the zipper still. I started working on the sleeves, and all they really are is just this big rectangle with a shoulder slope at one end. And then I'm just going to gather it all down. So it is about 15 inches across, and hopefully that will be give me a good poof for this. This is just a light gray chiffon material I got from Walmart. Not entirely sure what it is because it was one of their remnants, but I'm pretty happy with how it looks and hopefully it will work well. And then I am using French seams for these just because this stuff likes to fray And a French seam is where you sew your edges together wrong sides first, and then you trim them and then flip it so it's right sides together and then sew it again. So then you have a nice clean seam on the outside and all of your raw edges are encased on the inside, so you don't have to worry about fraying. Alright, so I have one sleeve on. I am very happy with how it's looking. I do just have regular hair ties as placeholders right now, just so I can check the poof and check the fit and everything and see how it'll look once I have the armbands on. And then I don't have a cuff on it yet, so I do have another hair tie right here. But so far, I am very, very happy with how it's looking, how it's fitting. And then I did go in and add a piece of chiffon right here, just so if this happens to peek out from underneath the vest, you'll see the same fabric as the sleeve instead of the black undervest. From what I can tell looking at the behind the scenes photos, hers does have this little piece right here that matches the sleeve. But other than that, I am so very happy with how it is looking. So now I just need to do the other sleeve. Alright, so here's where I'm at. I am putting the boning casings in right now. I put one on every seam. The sleeves are finished. I did go in and zigzag stitch all of this just so I don't have to worry about it fraying. I still have to take out the basting stitches, but I'll do that. So I'm going to put the boning casings in, put the boning in, and see how it fits. And then depending on how it looks and feels, I may or may not put a lining in. I haven't quite decided. I do have the lining pieces marked out. I just honestly don't really know if I want to put the extra layer in, because the vest is going to be at least 2 layers itself. So it's more of a question of if I just want to deal with all the layers rather than anything else. And I think I'm going to be lazy and not put it in, because all of my raw seams are going to be covered except for the back one, because I split it open instead of pushing it to one side. So all of my raw seams are going to be either finished or covered in some way. So I don't really have a need for lining. So we're going to see how it's going to look with the boning and go from there. Alright, I have a cuff for this costume. So it's not finished yet. I only have 5 of the 7 buttons on, because I'm leaving the other 2 buttons off until I put the actual sleeve on, so that I can, you know, actually put it in the machine and sew it and not worry about hitting a button and breaking everything. It is twisting right now just because it's not attached to the sleeve or anything, but it fits very nicely. I do have interfacing in it to hold that structure, so you can kind of see it right there. So you can see the interfacing right there. And then I did colored buttons in the same fabric, and then I couldn't find elastic in a gray, and I was not about to try and make button loops out of this chiffon. So I actually just took a Sharpie to some white elastic, and it worked out perfectly fine. I do still have to iron this, so that's why it's kind of bubbling weird like that. But as of right now, I am very happy with it. So I am going to go iron this and then make the second one. Alright, so here it is laid out flat. Again, I still have 2 more buttons to put on, which those I'll put on when I actually have this on the sleeve. And then I do have all 7 elastic loops, because she does have 7 buttons. And then when I sewed this inner layer, I actually pulled a little bit tighter. So you can kind of see right here how it's curling up a little bit. So that way, whenever it is actually, you know, on my arm, I don't have as much puckering or rippling of the fabric on the inside. And it will kind of help give it a little bit of a smoother look. But again, it does have interfacing in it, so that'll help kind of hold it all together. I have a sleeve! I am so happy with how it looks and how it fits. It is pretty much done. I have the covered buttons on there. It fits so nicely. I am very happy with how it looks and everything. I have elastic right there and then elastic under this top piece to help hold things in place. So yeah, I do have to print 2 more of these for the sleeve. This one right here was my test print. This one was my test print. So it is a little thick and a little too short compared to these 2, which were my second print. I am much happier with how these ones came out. So I do have to print 2 more for this arm and then the 4 for this side, but I haven't even started on this side. But other than that, I am so happy with how it came out. And then I did put some boning in. I took the bone out right here because it was kind of poking me, so I do need to bring it down a little so it sits more right here. And then I do have a little bit of puckering going on this, on the zipper, and then on the back seam, which I took the bone out of that one to make sewing this a little easier. So I only have boning in this side, just to see how things would look before I fully committed and got that far and everything. So I am going to finish putting the boning in it, but I'm going to wait until after I'm done with the sleeves so it's easier to put this under the machine and everything. And then I do have a shirt on underneath this, just because I was too lazy to take it off. But other than that, I am so happy with how this came out and how it fits. It is pretty comfortable. These are a little constricting because they are a solid ring and they are 3D print. I did model and print these myself. So I'm not entirely sure if I want to leave these as a solid ring or if I want to cut like 1 inch out of them and then put some elastic in, which I might end up doing that just so they're a little bit more comfortable. The ones Natalie Portman wore in the movie were thin pieces of metal. I believe they were aluminum that was then embossed, and hers did actually have a little strip of elastic that was then covered with another piece of metal, so it's hard to see. So I might end up doing that and just seeing if I can find like some silver or gray elastic to put in here, just to make them a little bit more comfortable so they aren't as constricting. Alright, so I've made some progress. I haven't been recording very much because we've had a lot of weather changing going on and it's really been messing with my head and causing a lot of headaches and sluggishness. So it's just taken a lot out of me, and I've still been working on this, I just haven't been recording. So as you can see, I have both of the sleeves completely done and finished. They do have the trim and the buttons. I just have the bottom 3 undone so I can slide the shirt on and off easily without having to undo them all and everything. So here they are, and these are elastic. So these top ones do stretch so I can get on and off, but the bottom ones are just a little too tight to slide over my hand. But it's got the nice point right there and the black trim. It's all gathered and has elastic. And I'm so happy with how these sleeves came out. They are so comfortable and just absolutely beautiful. I do have to go in and tighten the elastic right here, this elastic, because it is a smidge loose. I do have a t-shirt on underneath this right now. I have a long sleeve t-shirt on underneath, so it is kind of clinging to that shirt, but without the shirt this elastic does slide down. So I do need to go in and tighten that one a little bit just so it sits where it should and not slide down. But other than that, the sleeves are all done. I do still need to take the running stitches out of the gathering, but we'll get there. I do still need to finish altering the vest of the sleeves. I haven't gotten to that yet either, but I have started working on the outer vest, on the velvet vest that she wears over it. So as you can see, I have a mock-up on right now, and it is made from 2 different fabrics because I ran out of the blue. But I just have it pinned on right now, and I am very, very happy with how it is fitting and where all the seam lines are sitting right now. I think really the only thing I need to do to it is put a collar on to see how the collar is going to fit. And then I do need to bring the hemline down a little bit. And then I need to extend the arm size so that they come all the way out to the edge of my shoulder. Alright, so here is the front panel. As you can see, I have started embroidering it. So this is a like suede type black fabric with a black cotton backing, and then the cotton does have interfacing, so there's interfacing inside of this. Just a lightweight interfacing because that's all I had. And then I have started the gray. So the gray, I'm just using this roll of floss, of embroidery floss, and I am actually chain stitching it. So you can see I am chain stitching it instead of just the single strand, because if you do look at it, it is definitely got some type of texture to it. So what I did is I chain stitch as I go. I just chain stitch a good like 12 inches or so, embroider it, and then chain stitch some more. And I had started here and just went around, did the outline, and then once I got here I doubled back and just filled this area in, came here, doubled back, filled this area in, and then once I had this area filled in, I just made my way back and forth down to here. And now I am going to do the same thing where I just keep going around and filling it in. Alright, so I made another mock-up and it fit almost perfectly. I just needed to take the arm opening down a little bit because it was digging into my armpit a little bit. And then I trimmed the bottom to be where I wanted it to, trimmed the hem, and then I cut it apart to have my final pattern. And then here, so here is the fabric I am using. It is a black two-way stretch velvet. I have this velvet, which is a non-stretch velvet, but I like the look of the stretch velvet better. But I don't want this to stretch, so I am putting interfacing, just a lightweight interfacing on the back of all my pieces so that they don't stretch. But this is where we are right now. I have most of the pieces cut out. They are covered in dog hair and dust from my floor. But I have most of the pieces cut out and pinned together. I did run out of interfacing, so I do have to go out and buy more. But I am just so happy with how this is looking so far, and this is just pinned together. So that is where we are right now. I didn't get any footage with this mock-up just because I forgot. So sorry about that, but it fits so nicely. Alright, so a little bit of an update. I have the vest mostly done. It is fully lined and it fits pretty nicely. I have the outside of the collar sewn on and then the inside just pinned down. But I am a little frustrated right now because somewhere along the line I lost this point right here. So you can see how the front of hers comes down to a point right there. And somewhere during my mock-ups or sewing this together, I lost that point. And you can see that this is pretty straight across. And I am pretty frustrated about it. There's not really any way that I can kind of manipulate the fabric into creating that point without the bottom hem of this being too short. And it's pretty annoying because of how happy I am with how nice this looks. But unfortunately, I can't get this to go to that point no matter how much I try to manipulate the fabric or how I fit it to myself or anything. And I do really want that point in it. I did try it on with my little placket piece and it just doesn't look right having this come to a point and this doesn't. So I'm trying to decide what I want to do next, and I think I've come to the decision that I'm going to replace the front panels of the velvet right here, just this front panel, which means I have to undo, I think, 3 seams each. I do have to undo a little bit of hand stitching on the inside, and then undo this seam, the shoulder seam, and then part of the collar, and then recut these front panels so that they come more to a point. I am just going to do the one panel because I don't want to have to redo the arm's eye. It's hard to see, but the arm's eye I did actually go in and do some, I did some understitching on there, so I would have to rip out the understitching, I would have to rip out the actual seam right there, and then on this side I did do and then on this side I did do a little bit of hand tacking, just some little prick stitches, so I would have to undo 3 different seams to undo the arm's eye alone, and not to mention undoing the side seams and the shoulder seam, which I really don't want to do. I also don't know if I would have enough velvet to do that, because I did only have half a yard of velvet for this. So as frustrating as it is, I know that if I don't fix that, I'm just not going to be happy with it. Alright, so a little bit of an update. I redid these front panels, and I have, as you can see, started pinning things, marking where the closure needs to be and where this front panel sits. And here you can see that point. So here you can see that point now. It's a lot better, and I am much happier with it. I've got the collar on, but then I tried it on and I just used some pins to kind of mark where everything sits and where I need to put my closures and everything, where I need to trim this, and I am pretty happy with how it is sitting and how it looks. I did decide to go with these open ones. They were just a little bit more comfortable, so I will be putting some gray elastic right here so that it blends into the shirt and also kind of matches these once I paint them silver. So I do actually have 2 different sizes, so I have 2 larger ones and 2 smaller ones for each arm, just because the bottom of my bicep's a little bit smaller than the top of it. So now I'm just cleaning this off. I have to clean off the adhesion material, and then there are very, very small pieces of support material right here. It's kind of hard to see, but very, very small pieces of support material that I do have to clean out from right there on all of these. And then once I get them cleaned up, I'm just gonna spray paint them silver and then do the little blue details. I'm not going to be doing any type of sanding or filling for the print lines just because of all of these little swirl details right there. I don't want to have to try to work around them or risk losing any of them. So we're just going to deal with print lines instead, and I'm alright with that. I've also started working on her little jewelry headpiece. So this is where it's at right now. These are just made out of pieces of Warpla. And then I did coat them in a couple layers of Mod Podge, painted them gray, and then painted them silver. So this one needs another coat of silver, and then after that I just have to do the little turquoise pieces in there and put it all together. So this one does have these little, so this one I did put these little bars and loops on the back so that I can attach the rest of the pieces to, and then these ones just have jump rings attached to the back with scrap Warpla. So I'm pretty happy with how they came out. This one got a little rough because I had put some primer spray paint on it and it did not sit well on the Mod Podge, so I ended up having to scrape it all off, and it made it a little bit rough. but it'll be good enough for me. But I'm very happy with how they came out. Alright, so I started adding my beads on here. These are the beads I'm using. Some turquoise beads that I got from the store. Oops. So they're just some turquoise glass seed beads that I got from a craft store that I am spilling everywhere. I think that they might be a little too turquoise and should be more of like a blue. So it's hard to tell because this is my iPad. I do think that I should have gotten more of a blue rather than a turquoise, but they'll work. So I started putting them on. I'm just using some regular gold thread and just whip stitching them on like this. I think I might have too many beads on here, like too many rows, but I'm just going to leave it because this is all one thread and I don't want to start cutting them off and then have to redo the entire thing. So I don't mind it, but compared to my reference, I do have a bit more beading on here than hers does, but I am really happy with it. So I'm going to do the other side, and then I am going to go in between these lines of beads and just do a little bit of embroidery with some of the gold. Alright, I've made quite a bit of progress. I haven't really been recording a whole lot of what I'm doing because I have about a week until my convention, so I'm trying to avoid con crunch and kind of doing a little bit of like pre-con crunch. So I'm just trying to get as much work done as I can, and I keep forgetting to record, or I'm working on this at like 1 in the morning and I'm just really tired. So this front panel is all done. I got all of the gold embroidery and all the beading on there. This trim on the outside is actually just some bias tape that I made from the skirt fabric and just whip stitched it onto the edges, and then just did a couple of wide whip stitching using this same gray thread, just not chain stitched. And it is done. I am pretty happy with it. There are some small details that are a little off, that are not quite accurate, and I did skip some beading down here just because I was tired of beading and just wanted to be done. So then you can also see I went in and put some hook and eyes on the vest. I do need to put one more at the bottom and then 2 more at the top. And then I need to sew this panel onto the vest and then put some hook and eyes along here. And then the vest will be done. It is wearable right now though, and it looks pretty good. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. Really happy with how everything is looking. I do think that this gray trim on the outside may be a smidge too wide, but I'm just gonna leave it. It's good enough for me. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. Alright, the vest is done. I am pretty happy with how it came out. There are just a few small fitting issues that I wish I had paid more attention to. Like, I wish it was a little bit longer and that this kind of was a little bit more centered. But other than that, I am really happy with it. It is done. I don't have the undershirt underneath it right now. I just have a regular t-shirt underneath, but yeah, it's pretty comfortable. I have pretty good movement in it. But here it is. So it just closes with like 25 hook and eyes. There's a row going down the center here and then a couple along the side of this panel. So, but I am really happy with it. So it is done for now. I honestly don't think I'm going to make any changes to it. If I ever were to make changes to it, I would just remake the entire thing. But here's the vest. So that is all the fabric parts and pretty much the main parts for this cosplay done. think right now, at this point, the only thing I really have to do is finish the hairpiece for it, and then it'll be done. But for right now, it is pretty much wearable for my convention, and I'm really happy with it. Oh, I'm so excited to wear this. So here are some pictures of it, complete and me wearing it. I do have plans to remake the vest, just not yet. But I am super happy with how it came out, and it was so comfortable to wear. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!